A mom, entrepreneur, and all-around boss, our guest today is the founder of Little Words Project, the inspirational bracelets you may recognize from my very own wrists. Little Words Project was conceptualized as a way to spread motivation, inspiration, and kindness, and has grown over the last decade into a multi-million-dollar business with collaborations with everyone from influencers to the WNBA. Let's go ahead and take it courtside with Adriana Carrig. All right, Adriana, okay. This is a moment I've been waiting for because you and I have crossed paths, but never had the opportunity of meeting in person. This is actually the first time we've ever met face to face, but you've been a part of, or your company and creation has been a part of my wedding. It's been a part of my life. It's a part of my work. And now I see it everywhere. So let's jump right in because I know I want to be mindful of your time. You have a lot of things going on. You're a momtrepreneur, like a mom and entrepreneur put together. But let's jump right in. Let's talk about the obvious, Little Words Project. I mean, as young women who have their businesses going, I know how hard it is, but to start it at a young age and to be so successful. Tell me the beginnings of this.
You got it. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And you're absolutely right. I feel like we've been a part of all of your big life moments in the recent past. And you're just always decked out in your little words. And it just means so much to me to see. So thank you for that. But yeah, just, mom, that's a hard word.
It's hard to say. I thought I had it in my head and then it came out all wrong.
But there should be an easier way to say it because it is already hard enough as it is.
Wait, no, I got it. I got the easiest way to say it. Boss. That was my bad. I take it back.
Done.
You're a boss. Done.
Thank you. As are you. I love this. Okay, so yeah, I started this before I was a mom. I started this back in 2013 in my parents' basement. I was a recent college grad. I was going to go to law school, but then had a change of heart at the last second. Luckily, have very understanding and wonderful parents who, when I said, Mom and Dad, I'm not going to law school. Instead, I'm going to bead bracelets in your basement. They were totally on board and, asked how they could help. And so it's just unbelievable, one, to have that incredible support system then. And it's what led me to where we are today, right? Having that amazing team that I've surrounded myself with ever since those early days in the basement. But I started it because I wanted there to be something that was all about kindness, specifically for women. We've since grown to be inclusive of everyone. But in the very beginning, it was really about prioritizing self-love and kindness amongst girls. Reason being, I had grown up dealing with negativity my entire life. I was bullied from a very young age. That kind of cruelty continued all the way through college, where it dawned on me that this isn't just a childhood issue. This is a woman problem in a lot of respects, where rather than lifting one another up, we have this tendency to put one another down, right? So I started it amongst my college sorority, where I felt for the first time really experienced true sisterhood and kindness amongst women. And we started it by literally, I brought a batch in from, I was the VP of membership and I was tasked with keeping the love circulating, right? So I brought an early batch in and said, guys, wear these, pass them amongst yourselves as you need little moments to lift you up. And, we'll see what happens. And fast forward, 2.5 years later, and then officially graduating, I saw the girls were still doing it. And it led me to thinking, if there could be a sisterhood at this level, with these little bracelets, why couldn't there be a sisterhood for the masses? And that's kind of what got me into thinking it was possible on a bigger scale.
And for those that don't know, Little Words Project, they're all about their empowerment messages on bracelets. And I know you can see if you're looking at the audio on YouTube, but I have a few on my arm and I wear them all the time.
A few.
But I have a lot.
She is literally stacked to the elbow.
I've never been an unofficial ambassador of anything. I'm pretty sure I hold the title for your company in selling the most bracelets without even selling the most bracelets.
1,000%. It is accurate. And to the point where I'm like, girl, you want to be an official ambassador or not? Because the
sidebar is that I need to be an investor in this company because I need to own part of this company. Women entrepreneurs,
right.
It's about ownership and it's about growth together. So I got you. That we're gonna get into
investors,
that.
Possibly you. I love that.
let's talk about that later. But I have to ask the most obvious question, and I have my reason, and I've asked myself this. I've had so many people, all great folks, send me bracelets. And they'll send me bracelets with words on it. They'll send me bracelets with my name on it. They'll send me all kinds of things. And I mean, many of us out there, we love wearing jewelry of some capacity. And then a step further, jewelry that has some sentimental value, i.e. maybe an engagement ring, a wedding ring, a family heirloom, or a message. And what I think I recognize is I do think your company, which is why I'm a huge advocate, and why you're literally on my podcast, Courtside Conversation, taking it courtside to have this conversation, is because I do think that there's something different. I don't think I'm able to articulate it yet, really. So I'm excited to ask this question, but it's the obvious question is what sets you apart? This is an industry, bracelets with things on it, that, I mean, runs the gamut from make a 3-year-old making it for someone or for a family member to really high profile companies, huge box companies making them, and they're at higher price points. You fit somewhere in the middle of that, obviously, but it's like, what makes you different?
What makes us stand apart? Well, I appreciate you asking that question, because it is definitely something that, we deal with on our own too. I mean, we have people kind of how everyone's a troll on the internet, and we'll post on TikTok and we'll have people being like, why would I buy this when I can make this myself? What's the point of this product? And they don't get it, and that's what we hold to. You're not understanding fully what we do. And you were starting to talk about it. And I think that's the key is the community and the concept. So the concept is you wear your word for as long as you need it, then you pass it on. But the best part is that each one has a little code on the back of the tag. That code is unique to that bracelet, making that bracelet a true one of one. What happens is you receive your bracelet, whether you bought it for yourself or someone gave it to you, you register it on our website using that code. Then when you pass it along, you can actually track and see how your bracelet has impacted people down the line. So in a sense, it's the first jewelry product of its kind that enables you to see how your single act of kindness affects people as it moves. And I think that is just so powerful, and so much so that, we've done surveys and we've asked our customers, those of whom will pass the bracelet on. I mean, we always get the customer that's like, I'm never giving this away. I love this thing. Why would I ever pass it on? Those who do though, 100% of them have responded that they would do it again. And I think that's just how the experience of passing on a little word, the experience of giving something of yourself to someone else is so rewarding. And it's just such an incredible moment. And to be able to track that love and kindness as it moves through the world is what makes us different. It is our X factor. And honestly, when I was first making these, they did not have tags on them when I made them for my sorority. It wasn't until literally a year later, I saw they were still doing it, passing them amongst themselves in that chapter, that I thought I literally had a shoot out of bed moment where I thought of, there needs to just be a code on it. We need to be able to track them. And if we can track them, then we have a real business here. And that is what made us different in the beginning. It's what continues to make us different today. And it's why we have built such a solid community. It's this foundation of women who and men now, I mean, really anybody who genuinely love what they're wearing. Like you said, we all love things with meaning. You can customize it to have a word that matters to you. And we do all the work. Why would you want to go and buy all the materials? Now you have beads littering your drawers. What's the point of that when you can just have something that is handmade, quality artisans, and it's just a beautiful piece? So we really try to harp on that quality element. And then on top of that, it's just the fact that you're entering a sisterhood for everyone. I mean, it's just this big thing where you go and you see someone in person. If they're wearing a little word, you're like, oh my God, Little Words Project. It's like such a great little connecting moment. And then beyond that, I will own that 8.5 years ago when I started this line, I'll tell you how many people were like, are you sure you want them to look like that? Like, I don't really know. Those look like baby bracelets. And now everyone and their mother is making one of these bracelets. So I will say we are the originals. We did bring it back. Yes, we have been making them since we were kids in camp. And, I think that's the purpose of the look, right? It's supposed to bring you back to that nostalgic place when life was a little simpler and girls were maybe a little bit nicer. And if they weren't nice, you didn't realize it, right? So it's all intentional and meant to just be this simple, sweet piece that means the world to you. And I mean, I don't have to tell you, look at you wearing them up your arm because they actually impact you, right? You look down and you see, keep going. You're like, yes, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing through. And so that's what makes us so special. And, hopefully all the people that are out there making them as well, continue to make them, but also buy one of ours too, right? Because you can at least have the traceability piece that makes us even more unique.
So a couple things come up from that strategy. I think that's what sets you apart, is that you have a strategy. You look at something that people may look at as average, original, original for a certain decade in their lives or have been done before. And you're saying, we all have a connection to it. We all love it, but how can I be strategic and set it apart? And I think the tracking definitely does that. One of the things that, in terms of the trolls, I love that you mentioned that, because we forget sometimes everything looks shiny on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram. People look great when they step out on the street if they dress up and they're ready to hit the town. Yeah, girl, you're getting passionate. She's taking off her jacket right now for those that can't see.
I am ready to talk about the trolls.
World. Yes. She's like, let me tell the world why we are who we are and why we're so successful. And at the same time say, you can do it too.
Absolutely.
But what you're saying that I think is so imperative is when you said, like, people will troll online and say, why would I buy this? I can just make it. I mean, I would just offer another question. Why would you buy bread if you can just make it? Mm-hmm. Why would you buy dinner if you can just make it? Like, these are simple ingredients that you can put together. The reality is that we appreciate and respect the art, right? Mm-hmm. And nor do we have the time nor capacity to do other people's job, like to do everything. Right. So it's making sure, like, and I think that investment in the community to say, I see how you've taken something that has an emotional value that I might have connected to when I was younger, or even hell, now that I'm an adult.
Now, yeah.
And you've given it you've placed strategy on it and structure, and you've given it a roadmap to success, and it involves me being a part of the community. Yeah. So I do think you've done quite a great job at explaining and promoting those in the community. Like, yeah, if you're going to keep doing this because it makes each other better. Yeah, but you've done a great job in articulating and defending quite eloquently, defending quite eloquently, why you are who you are. But I want to shift away. I love a good hater, because a hater means you're doing well. So thank you, trolls. Thank you, haters. Thank you for all those comments. Dale Carnegie said, no one ever beats a dead dog. Public service announcement, no one's beating a dog, but just so you know, like, that's a saying where it's like, no one would kick a dead dog, actually, is what the saying. And it's like, if you're not doing anything, no one's trying to come for you. So
absolutely.
You're doing a lot.
You're doing something right.
You're doing a lot right. But let's get into this. In terms of creating a business, it is not easy. Not only is there a monetary investment, right? Whether it's going to a VC fund, if you're a women-owned business, sometimes there's an extra layer of explaining why this business is actually important when you're negotiating or presenting to a room full of people that don't look like you and aren't the greater consumers in the, especially in America, but in the world, which are women. And so it can be challenging. How did you, or when did you know that this was a successful roadmap? Like, this was a successful path. You knew, like, this is a viable business for me and not just a side hustle.
Yeah, no, great question. So I didn't go the traditional route of raising funds, partially because of what you just said, right? That fear of going into a boardroom and seeing a bunch of men, white men, frankly, who don't look like me in a lot of regards, especially 8.5 years ago when I was looking to start this up. Instead, I went right to my savings account that I had built up from working in retail for a couple of years through college. And I invested about $5,000 into this. And within 1 month, we were profitable. Granted, it was a small investment, but that's a quick turnaround time. That told me there's something to this. And how did that happen? It was through the community of women that I had become so tight with in my college sorority that would be sharing the link on their websites, on their Facebooks, and just spreading the word. And it started to take on a life of its own, and it grew out from underneath me very, very quickly. So it was within the first few months that I was like, there is something here. And it was within the first 1.5 years where I started to need to hire more people, and I needed the additional help I was working a full-time job in the beginning, and it really truly was a side hustle. I would come home, my dad and he would ship, and I would pack and make the orders with my mom. So it was a true labor of love in the beginning. And it was about 1.5 years in when I realized I need to hire people to meet demand, that I started thinking, okay, this is no longer a side hustle. Like, I got to walk away so that I could put my all into the beginning and the building of this business. And then we started getting attention from some of the major players. I will say that, working with the likes of you and having we recently just did a collaboration with the WNBA and Jess Sims, who, is a speaker for the Liberty team. And we've just had so many moments where it's like, oh my gosh, this person is picking up what we're putting down. This person wants us at their kid's birthday party in LA. This company wants us to work with them. It's just been an incredible journey of people getting it. And every time someone gets it, it's reinvigorated us to believe in what we're doing. Beyond that, I'm the child of a Mexican immigrant. My mom came here when she was 18 years old, with nothing but the clothing literally on her back, and built up her life to a place that, she ended up running a multi-million-dollar company, living in one of, the more affluent communities in New Jersey. And she gave me everything. So I knew that if she can come from that and get to where she was, then I can go from the very privileged place that she put me and get to where I am today and get further and beyond. So I think it's just been the belief in myself that she has instilled in me from a very, very young age that enabled me to believe truly, like even if it was a little crazy, that it was always going to be successful. Like it wasn't even a question, I just knew that if there were going to be hurdles, I was going to cross them and we were going to figure it out. And that's not to say that there haven't been moments that were like, I call them like near-death business moments where I've had to look back and be like, oh my God, like we almost lost it all, or it almost completely went out from underneath us. And I look at all those moments as just more steps along the path towards where we are today, towards the impact we've been able to build, and just in general, being able to create that community of women that continuously and still to this day, our number one means of growth has been word of mouth, which just goes to show that it's people who love it enough to talk about it regularly. And I think that's what makes the brand so special, and it's made me realize that we really do have something special here.
Let's take a moment and do a little instant replay where I'd like for you to, if you don't mind sharing,
Sure.
One of those dark moments of where you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't know. Because, and the reason I ask isn't to be nosy, but I mean, it is an interview. But no, the reason I really ask is because, again, it's moving away from it being so shiny, like real people having real conversations. And we know building a business, I can identify being in my living room with stacks and stacks of USPS envelopes, shipping Love Squad shirts before I got a distribution center to actually sell apparel, right? To do that work, to get to that growth. Yeah. So I'd love if you don't mind, like taking us to that moment or moments that you feel comfortable sharing.
Of course.
When you're just like, I don't know what's next. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, literally, which is everything. I will say COVID was a very interesting period of time for a business owner. Any small business owner out there, my heart goes out to all of them who didn't make it through, right? We were one of the lucky few, but there was a point in time where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I fulfill orders every single day. I have to have people going in to do that, but I also want to keep them safe. I have to navigate, the changing tides of the world and speak about selling bracelets, to speak on selling bracelets during such a dark period of time. It just things didn't feel as aligned for a little while until I put a call out to the community. I mean, I literally went on social. I put my face there. I'm near tears. And I'm like, you guys, I want to do right by you. I want you all to tell me what you need from us. And I want to meet you where you are in this moment. And through that, we got, an influx of orders of customers coming in. I basically was like, look, we're in a tough spot right now. I don't want to let go anyone. I don't want to furlough anyone. I want to figure this out, but I need your help. And, people came out in droves to support us. They bought their bracelets, and it turns out that during dark times, people do want to be able to look down at their wrist and see strength, or like I said earlier, keep going, which is one of our number one best-selling words, to get them through those moments. So, there was definitely a period there where it was touch and go, and it was just me as far as, the main leadership team. I've since expanded that team to have much more heavy players that can help me through those moments as they come, which they will continue to come, because that's just being a business owner, especially this day and age. Things are crazy out there in the streets. You know what I mean? Like no one knows what's going to go down at any given moment. And so I'm just very lucky to have built such an incredible team and to have built such an incredible community that got us through. And then one other moment I can think to is going through my own journey with trying to conceive my first baby. As we mentioned, I am a mom, and I went through 2.5 years pretty much of trying to conceive. My husband and I ended up having to go down the route of IVF. Two young, healthy people who, were given a diagnosis of unexplained infertility, which is just it's like, oh, it just kills you, right? Because you just want answers, especially as a type A business owner as I am. I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling me there is no reason for this nightmare that I'm living. And you just kind of have to, there were points in that period of time where I thought to myself, did the business do this to me? Which is just going down my spiral. So come along with me if you will. But I was like, I've been working my ass off for however many years now, 6 years at the time or 5 years at the time, no sleep, working into the wee hours of the night, stressing myself out, draining my adrenals, just all the things that you shouldn't do as a young woman who is wanting to be, carrying a child, right? So I essentially went through this pain of, did this business do this to me? And do I need to walk away from it so that I can have one? Is it really one or the other? And, I think in that low place, I looked at this business, I looked at what we've built, I looked at our community that we had created. It's giving me chills right now just thinking about it. And I thought to myself, this is my first baby. This is this brand that we have built, the women that we have built in this community. We really need to prioritize them. And in doing so, I know that this is my path for a reason. I know that I will be able to look back on this story and understand it at some point. Oh, sweetheart, you're so cute.
I know, I'm tearing up over here.
Thank you. It was a journey and it was the hardest thing of my life. And that said, I look at my little boy now. I have a 14-month-old little boy named Ford. Yeah. Very lucky that I ended up, getting to walk away with this happy ending. I look at him and I get it. I understand. This was who I was supposed to have. This is the little man that I was supposed to have. That is why I couldn't get pregnant all those other times, And I look at this baby, my first business, my first baby, my business, and I think to myself, look at where she is now, look at how big she has become and how many lives she has touched and how many people, still to this day, maybe they're not passing it on, but they're wearing their first bracelet that they got at my street fair back in 2013 where they first met me, and I just, it's so powerful and it's become so much bigger than me. And I'm just grateful, really. I'm just grateful for the journey that we've been on with it. And I'm okay with all of the shit that I had to go through to get here, whether it was the bullying and the moments of not wanting to wake up in the morning as a kid to the moments of, looking at that pregnancy test and seeing a negative, right? And all of the crap in between. I mean, there are so many more low moments that I can't even speak to in this one, period of time that we have. But I think it just goes to show that at some point, everything does kind of come full circle. Everything does start to make sense. And if you put positive power behind your negative experiences, you can come out on the other side feeling like it was all worth it.
I want to say thank you. I think the folks out here that are listening that potentially could be in similar situations or know someone in a similar situation when it comes to conception. And it's very sensitive in that it's not always talked about.
Right.
If it is talked about most times, because it's such a private conversation, people that are going through it at the time don't want to expose themselves to those types of resources, because that's also a public, there's a public thread around that, right? Like if you're following certain accounts, people will recognize, oh, this person's having a challenging time conceiving or is, whatever the case may be. So it becomes very, very much a door that's closed and not talked about until after the fact, until there's another side.
And or even if that.
Yeah, and that's it. Even or until all resources have been exhausted, and then there are no other options. And not all people go down that route, but I know many people who do. And so for those that are suffering in silence, I think this is a great moment to recognize what you said. Is that sometimes two things that you said that I think hit home with me was your first baby was Little Words Project. Like this, your business was your first baby. And it was where you invested your time, your energy, your sweat, and it grew and it's growing. And it's a big part of who you are and it's a big part of your family. And then I think with that, when you said my son is the kid that I'm supposed to have, like the mom I was meant to be was only first for him. Like he, you know what I mean? Like as my first human, it was him.
Absolutely.
And I think that in itself provides some type of solace for those that potentially may be going through it. It doesn't ease the pain. It does not stop the hurt, but it does provide perspective and a little solace in moments that could be challenging. So I want to say thank you for your bravery, because I think that moment, I would say you definitely were dropping some dimes right there, literally and figuratively. So thank you for that.
Of course. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I want to give, before we move into, I want to talk about some of the partnerships, because I think highlighting some of the collaborations that have come from this business, especially after going through the struggle, like highlighting some of the success is important. But I do want to give a special shout out, because as you talk about the success, I do think, like you said, it's through word of mouth. Like I started wearing the bracelets. I gave them to people at my wedding. Like Jess Sims, I'm pretty sure like I gave her a bracelet, and she works for the Liberty. I work for the Brooklynettes, and just like that whole partnership, this makes my heart sing, and that we're able to be a circle to help, not even just small business owners, but just like women entrepreneurs, to be honest, to your point, like just, it makes my heart sing. But none of this is possible without my assistant, Danya. And it wasn't until in the middle of COVID, she's going to cry right now. She's listening. She's like, oh my God, I got a shout out. She's like blushing. She's in the corner. She didn't know. This was not on the script. What isn't on the breakdown? But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge. And the reason for that, it's perfectly aligned with what you said about your business. I, was looking for a new assistant. Again, coming from a place of like, I'm all over the place. I got a lot of balls in the air and I really just need some help. And so finding the right person was crucial. Once we started working together, after hiring her, she introduced me to y'all. Yep. And she has been your biggest advocate in terms of partnering. She's like, she was helping me with the wedding. And again, my husband and our best friend planned the wedding. We didn't have a wedding planner, and I was not a planner, fun fact. But when it came down to what do we give are there any little gifts I can give my mom, my sister, some of my really, close friends who are bringing that feminine, strong energy to the wedding as I take this next step in life? And she was just like, I got the perfect gift we can get. She worked with y'all to get everyone a gift. She traveled with them. It's been a gift that we give to some of our favorite partners to just highlight, to say thank you for our partnerships. So I would be remiss to say that she was definitely the domino that created the domino, that knocked down and created that domino effect to say, like, here's a new community that you've been exposed to because of this one person in your community that has like truly benefited from wearing, and she wears hers all the time, wearing her bracelets. And I'll let you jump in, but what I want to close this chapter with, or this time out with, is more the fact that it's from, like you said, those unexpected places. You would think it was me, someone who has a big platform, or my friends who you may know because they're on this platform or they do these things. And it's actually from someone who lives in similar neighborhood as you, who found you on social, who bought your product the first time, fell in love with it, so much so that they have been an advocate, word of mouth, and it's continued to travel. So what you're doing and what your company is about actually is, I'm the result of it, actually. Yeah. I'm not the starting point. I'm the result of it,
No, I love that. I love that you said that, because I think you just validated exactly what I said is what makes us different. It's the community. It's the fact that Danya saw something in what we presented as whether it be through social media or through our product, our website, or through our in-person experiences, that made her think this is the perfect gift. And this, there's a meaning behind it too. And there's just this extra layer that makes it go so much further. But oh my gosh, when we heard from her, and Mariah on my team, who is my earliest employee, that was one of the moments of like, holy shit. I don't know if we can curse here, but holy shit.
Be you.
Allie Love, like, this is amazing. We're going to work with Love Squad. We're going to work with this. We're going to do that. Like, we have had so many moments of just like complete shock and awe that you would take interest in us. And we knew that it had started with Danya. And I know that Danya and Mariah have had a lot of moments together. And it's just so special that, we were able to create such a lovely moment for your wedding, but then also that you would fast forward and the two of us get to have a moment together. I think it is so full circle. And I think it just goes to show, like, I too have an assistant that saves my life. I mean, it's like your right hand, and to have someone like that you trust so wholeheartedly to come to you with this special product that would honor the people that you love the most is like, it's like awe-inspiring for me. And it just goes to show that, we need to lean on our women, right? We need to lean on our girls. We need to lean on our support system. right? Like that is the point. And then I'm rewinding a little bit back to where we were talking quickly about those trolls and about people who could, say I can make it myself. And then you were like, well, why would you? Yeah, you could also make bread. And I think it's because we just, as women, unfortunately, have this gut reaction to compete, to think, oh, this was so easy. I could have done this. But I didn't. And then you immediately want to claw that person back. You want to, like, you see her up above the ladder, you want to pull her down. We preach here inclusivity and collaboration over competition. That is one of our core pillars of our core values, because I truly believe that when women come together and when we aren't worried about, who found what first or who did what first and, or who could, create something bigger or better than the next, but instead think, how can we work together? And that's going to lead into these partnership conversations as well. You go so much further, any of the big players. And you also mentioned this, we've had these big box, these bigger retailers that are making them themselves, and one of which, very popular retailer that found me at a trade show. You want a little bit of tea here, girl? I'll give it to you.
I want the tea.
You want the tea?
Can I get a drink side on the Courtside, please?
Right, a little drink at Courtside, right.
Yes.
So one of these, it was my first year in business, my first year at a trade show. Let me say my first year at a trade show. I was 3 years into business. And I had a major retailer that creates, that frankly, from whom I was purchasing the beads. I'll say that. It was a craft store, if you will, where I was buying my first initial batch of beads. They came up to me. They were like, I love this. I want to do this. I sent them my line sheets. I sent them my business card. I gave them everything that they could use to get to know the brand. And I called my rep and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. My personal brand rep. And she was like, be careful. They tend to do this and then they'll knock you off. Within 6 months, by Christmas of that year, bracelets were in their stores for a 20th of the price. Literally I don't know math. $1 bracelets, okay? $1 flippin' dollar they were selling them for. And I remember thinking to myself, like, isn't that just such a shame? What a story that would have been to be able to say, one, we're supporting a small business owner, a Latina-owned business, and that business was started using the materials in our stores. And now we want to support her. And now we want to send this out to the world. And we could have held hands together. We could have done a cheaper product together. We could have done something. And instead, it was, oh, I can do this myself. And so as we look to our future partnerships and who we want to work with, I really want to tell the story. Yes, I want to work with the big players, but I also really want to tell the story of working with the smaller business owners. So if you walk into our store on Bleecker Street right now in Manhattan, you'll see other small business owners, all female owned. And they are creating things that are so special and unique that I want to do a version that's them X Little Words Project. And how can we take the story of partnership, but spin it on its head and say, instead of going after the big ones so aggressively, which we do, because we do still feel like it helps spread the word out there, but let's go after the smaller guys and let's bring them along, right? So you could walk into our store right now and there's a little dish at the cash wrap of literally a young 12-year-old girl named Sophia, who was so inspired by Little Words Project, she started making them herself. And she came to me, she gave me a bracelet. They're a little circle, they're different, they look different, but they're totally inspired by us. They're a lower price point. And I'm like, you know what? You're so amazing and adorable and sweet to come here all excited to show me your bracelets that you made. Let's go ahead and sell some of these to our audience. So we now sell our own bracelets and ones that could arguably take up market share on a person's wrist, right? It could arguably be competing with ours. But instead, customers are viewing it as, wow, look at what they're doing to help this young business owner. And that's that gets me up every day. You know what I mean? Like, how can I help? How can I continue? And I'm not even trying to sound so altruistic because I'm no angel, obviously. But in this moment, I was just like, why instead of being like, okay, cute, goodbye, when I can instead be like, you know what? Come on in. The water's warm. There's plenty of room for all of us. All ships rise. If this look is out there as something that people want, then great. I'm happy to own that we were one of the original back. And I'm proud I stuck with my guns when everyone that I talked to in the beginning said, maybe it should be gold plated, like, maybe a little bar and you stamp the word. Like there were so many examples of what I should have done that I didn't listen to. And I'm so glad because it's opened up this world of potential other business owners that can kind of not ride the coattails by any means, but like, what's that term? Okay, I'm not a sporty girl, so this is where I'm going to show my true colors.
Girl,
here.
you are now. You're sitting courtside in this conversation. Come on now. Bring the heat.
I'm going to bring the heat. What is the term when you are running behind a fast runner?
Tailwind.
Tailwind. So
they can be a trailblazer, like that's a term, but
like I'm going to be okay, so I'm a trailblazer.
Is that?
Yes, I think it's a tailwind. Yes. I think you can get in behind, so if I'm the trailblazer for these, and all the people behind me are the trail people getting in on the trail wind, right? And they're getting in behind me. You know what I mean? And all your listeners
I got you.
know what I mean.
Don't
too.
Even. They got you.
You guys get it. Then that's good enough for me. That's cool to me. I'm happy to be that. And I think that in a way, I've always been a version of that. And there have been people who have hated me for it, hence that bullying my whole life. And there have been people that have kind of followed me for it. And in a way that I feel like we've all just been able to make a difference, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us. So I'm sorry, that was such a tangent, but long story short,
tangent.
Good.
Any tangent that's insightful and thought-provoking is great. Now,
there you go.
I would be honest with you. I would let you know, we're sitting courtside, that this conversation just went to another type of sport. Then I would let you know. But we're still in the arena. We're still on the court. And we're going to bring it home. I want to talk about, and again, being mindful of not even just time, just like, I feel like there's so much I have to ask, and it's thoroughly because I stay curious. It's one of the things that I remind myself is how can I continuously stay curious around not only just my greatness, but my capacity. And so as I kind of limit the curiosity for the sake of time and your time, I would love to get into this WNBA partnership. I think this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And when we heard, when Donnie and I heard about it, we were just like, this is amazing. And to your point, my heart, like I said, my heart like flutters when, especially women in business, as a woman in business, I know how hard it is. I'm like still hiring a new business manager to run Love Squad, like having my own company, having employees, then having my own job. I can only imagine throwing a kid, hell, a puppy in the mix could be just a more disaster.
Dude.
But, I have so much respect for people who just don't give up when it gets so tough, especially women out there that are, creating their business and continuing to create their legacy, or even climbing that vertical corporate ladder and just going in every day. But when you think of like the next step, this is huge for you, right?
Yeah.
I think these partnerships, especially anything with the NBA, especially the WNBA, like that to me is exceptional. I need to know more. Please do tell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will say that when we first started thinking about, okay, what are these next partnerships going to look like? I really wanted to focus on, I wanted to hit this other world. I think that because I personally was not a big sporty gal for a long time, I didn't really think about the entire industry around women in sports, right? And, when we did start having the conversation, I really wanted to think about it from the angle of exactly that, women in sports. There are other brands out there who went the NBA route, right? And not to say that wasn't something that we would love to do and still is something we would love to do, but we loved the idea as we were building these partnerships of working with those female-centered experiences. Again, this was a business really built on female empowerment more so than anything else. And it's only recently that we launched a men's collection and have been able to, expand into really just anybody who needs a little bit of love and attention and self-love reminders. But I will say that, having the opportunity with the WNBA was just one of those, again, pivotal moments of holy crap, this major industry is wanting to work with us in a real way. And we've just been so lucky to, one, they've been great partners. Two, we've been able to connect with some of the players on the Liberty team, Sammy Whitcomb being the main one. And Mariah got to go out there and meet her. And we're going to a game all together tomorrow night. We're literally taking a party bus from the office down to over to the game. And we're just so excited about that. So, I think ultimately we really are focusing a lot on, how each of these partnerships aligns with our core values, our core principles, always wanting to work with people that, just need that reminder. And when we look at, the sports world, like women are women, people are people, right? You all need a little bit of encouragement, right? And if little words can be that for you, let us be that for you. Let us take up a spot on your wrist. One little measly, I don't even think, what is this? That's not even half an inch. It's a quarter of an inch. I don't even know how big of a step this is.
I would say that's like a quarter
of an inch of your body. Let us have it. Let us give you the daily reminder that you need to get through whatever it is that you're facing. If it's as simple as pushing through to the end of the game, pushing through to the end of the ride, whatever it is that you could use that little moment of encouragement for, we want to be that for you. So the WNBA was just such a incredible, I was about to say hit out of the park, but that's a different reference. Let me get
not as baseball.
Let me get back to the sport that we're talking about.
Basketball.
My husband's going to kill me. He's such a basketball lover too. And he's like, Adriana, you're going to have to get your stuff in order to be able to have these conversations. But it's so true. Anyway, I'll learn more tomorrow night at the game.
Yes.
But that said, it's just been wonderful, and it's a whole nother market. And, one of the things that we did focus on this year was mental health in sports, as well as just, sports in general, and taking that entirely just this other platform for us. But the mental health piece, because, people think that these sports players and athletes, me saying sports players, I'm screaming. These athletes are just out here living their best life because they're kicking ass and they're good at what they do and they're talented. But it takes a mental toll, especially at the collegiate level, right? So, we have just been so lucky to partner with different teams and different young women who have reached out to us saying, hey, my team's going through some difficulty and I'd love to give them bracelets. And, is there anything you can do to help us, speak on who you guys are and help them get through those difficult times? And we've been able to respond with like a resounding yes and do what we can to give back in that regard. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Well, I have to say it's been awesome having this conversation. Wow. I'm thoroughly inspired. I've obviously loved you before and loved this business before, but even more committed to what you're doing. And I appreciate what you're doing as another woman founder and even like creator of a podcast. You've created your podcast, creator of a podcast now on iHeartRadio. Like, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. I think, like you said, like it's definitely collaboration over competition always. And it's even more important when we are thoughtful and strategic about it, when that is our ethos, not just, we're going to just decide to do this one day and today feels good, so let's collaborate instead of being competitive. But when it literally is your motto, your mantra, like the principle, core values that you live by. And so I thank you for your intentionality. I thank you for, adorning my wrist always. Which I love and I'm obsessed with. And I look forward to many more conversations on how we can collaborate. So I'd say definitely have fun at the Liberty game. Shout out to Barclays Center is amazing. Obviously, our Nets organization as a whole and Liberty organization is exceptional. Boop, boop. But I would say enjoy the box experience because you just got a courtside experience with our courtside conversation. And it was quite enjoyable.
I don't know that anything's going to top this moment for me, honestly, Allie. So thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for putting, just the passion behind everything you do and for inspiring everyone, men, women, anybody. I think everyone is so inspired when they ride with you, when they listen to you. And I'm just so freaking honored to be here. So thank you. And thank you for letting me have what I would assume is about 3 inches on your wrist, not just a quarter of one.
I know. I'm here for it.
All
right, y'all. Adriana Carrig, thank you so much. That was our courtside conversation, and we look forward to many more. Y'all know I don't plug things often. I just say, check out Little Words Project. I think you'll love it just as much as I do.